Welcome everybody. I do hereby bring tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for October 21st, 2024 to order. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Ayes. So moved. Old business. I'd like to bring to order area variance 24-0010 for Lisa Bender, representing owner of tax map number 309.12-8-6, commonly referred to as 14 First Street. The applicant is seeking maximum lot coverage relief above 35% threshold to install a driveway pursuant to City Code, Post Falls Zoning Code Chapter 220, Section 13G. The applicant will wire an appeal.
Hello, my name is Travis Scarincio. I'm here for Lisa, and I do have the owner permission letter as well that I didn't have last time. Sorry about that. Currently, the duplex that is there only has 2 parking spots. They're requesting a 350 square foot driveway be added, 10 feet wide by 35 feet long, on the First Street side of the property. Currently, the existing driveway is on the Gervais Street side.
Okay. What is the owner's desire to have this variance?
To not park on the lawn any longer or in the street. The tenants are forced to park on the lawn or the street, and as you know, with street parking, there's tickets involved. So currently they're parked on the lawn, which also is not technically allowed. So they're looking to get additional parking to accommodate the 4-bedroom residence. It's 2 units, 2 bedrooms each, and currently there's only 2 parking spots.
Are there a lot of parking tickets being accrued?
I'm not sure. I know that they have had a few, but you can't park on the street past, I believe, 2 a.m. in the city. And so to avoid that, they're now currently parking on the lawn, which isn't a permanent solution with winter coming and, snow removal and everything like that. And it is an owner-occupied unit. So
it is? Or
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the owner parking on the lawn right now. So he would like to not do that any longer.
It's my understanding it's not really a lawn, it's more gravel, extension of the driveway.
On the survey it shows as gravel, but I just drove by again to verify it's actually not.
I walk my dog there most nights during the week and it looks like gravel.
The truck was just packed in the driveway. I didn't appear from the road to look like gravel, but if it is, it's probably been something temporary for right now because they had this tabled and it's kind of been in the works for a while.
Okay.
Are you talking about here?
No,
Or
the other
driveway
side.
in the back?
Yeah, the driveway in the back.
Do you know the dimensions of the driveway in the back and the gravel area?
If they're not on the survey, I do not. Yeah, I don't see them on here, so I do not know the dimensions here. It's just barely 2 cars wide, though, I do know that. It's a very tight space to open up a door even to get out of the, I've been to the property several times to look at this, and to get out your driver door with the car to your left, it's tight.
Has the owner or occupant of the neighbor been contacted in any way?
Not that I'm aware of.
And the picture appears to have the curb cut up to the property line, or basically right on it. Is that accurate?
I don't believe so. I think the mark on the survey shows it to be exactly to the property line, but the photo is a little bit shy of that. So you'll see in the photo there's a staircase with a fire exit and actually an old paved sidewalk where there used to be a driveway there at one point that since is no longer in existence.
Was there a driveway?
The owner believes so, based on the concrete that's there, and then if you're there, right where the wording proposed curb cut / apron, that's actually stone and stuff underneath that grass. It's very crabgrass material like. So they believe there was a driveway there at one point that since has deteriorated and, somebody seeded it and covered it up. So they're really just requesting that a 10-foot curb cut go there, and it would cover up that sidewalk portion as well, because that sidewalk's not really needed. So it's not even really a true 350 square foot coverage if you consider what's already covered there by the sidewalk. To the right side of the home underneath the fire exit.
So the sketch shows the 10 foot, but then there's like what looks like grass between that and like the little strip of your neighbors.
Yep.
So are you gonna leave like a 2 foot, 1 foot strip of grass? Is that the
As long as that's what the 10 feet measures, which I believe it does, yes.
Because that's your property and the rest is on their property.
What was that? I'm sorry.
So then that would be what's on her property or their property, not on the rest of the other little strip.
Little strip of grass.
Whatever's left on the other property.
Would be on this property, the 14 First Street property.
Little weird.
Now, how long has this been a multifamily duplex?
That's a good question.
Long time. I mean, I've lived in the neighborhood my whole life, and I'm almost 30. As long as I can remember. I know that this owner's been here since 2020, I believe. So the last 4 years they've owner occupied it. Maybe not quite that long, but I know prior to that it was a multifamily as well, because the current owner's parents back at one point actually owned it as a 2-family years ago, and then it sold outside the family, and then he purchased it back.
Yeah, I agree. I can't remember it not being a multifamily. The reason I ask is because I've been on this board, I don't know, six years or so. This hasn't come up as a necessity for this property to date, and the property has by and large been occupied. I can't speak knowledgeably as far as full occupancy, but I do know it has been occupied. So it's, my first inclination is this isn't really a necessity. Sounds like something that would certainly make things convenient, but it's not really necessarily our purview before. Those are my thoughts. As we would have any questions or comments that I'd like to ask.
Are the other adjacent homes on this road all multifamily?
I would say majority. Across the street, there's a 4-family property that's probably 100% covered that recently sold. I don't believe there's any green space on that lot. There's also a commercial parking lot across the street. And I think that's also why it was never an issue in the past, is in the past tenants used that medical facility for parking. That's no longer an option, as it's now privately owned and not an option for parking. I believe it's all fenced off and gated, which had always been fenced off and gated, but now the gates are closed. They're not open like they previously were, which is also why I think this is now a necessity thing, versus in the past people would walk across the street from that parking lot. And yes, to the right of it, I believe it is a multifamily property on First Street, and then there's several others that are multi on First as well, and Javay.
And do they all have their own parking lots coming in, or are there tenants parking on the street as well?
Most of them have enough parking spots to accommodate the tenants with parking in the rear. The way this one's set up, being a corner lot, there's not much green space in the rear. It is actually the parking.
Is it a 2-car garage?
No, so you can't even fit a car in there. It's not deep enough by the dimensions. So that's the issue as well, is that it's really just storage for lawnmower and snow blower.
It's actually kind of a concern I have is when you pave this up, how are you what are you going to do with the snow when you get it?
There's a big section of green space here in the front of the property on the corner of Javay and that. I would assume it would be snow blowed there. And also towards the rear of the fire exit, there's green space as well. I mean, it wouldn't be thrown on the neighbor's yard or in the road by any means.
It's going to be difficult to do.
Yeah. I mean, I know the property across the street, both properties you're referred to, the medical practice, the former medical practice building. I mean, that hasn't been occupied in a few years now. accurate with that?
I'm not sure on exact timeline. I know it did previously sell and they were trying to do something there and it's back on the market currently. But I know since they closed the practice and moved it up to the exit 18 corridor, there's been no allowance of parking there. Whereas in the past they did get away with it, is my understanding.
Might be 3 or 4 years. I might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Right. And I know that the other property across the street from that you're referring to with complete lot coverage, that was one that came before the board somewhat recently actually.
Yeah, in the last
That's
year or
been there
two.
for, 60, 70, as far back as anybody can really recall, it's been as is. So that was a little bit different scenario than this situation where we're looking to
I was just bringing it up more in terms of density. It is a heavily dense multifamily area for the most part, especially in that section of First Street. As you get towards Staple, becomes more single family homes, but this end is mostly multifamily properties.
yeah.
I guess your point is a good one in that sense, that since it's been, I'm just pulling things that have been said from different parts of the presentation discussion, is that it's been the good part in your sense is that it's been this way for a long time. So why now do they need that change instead of 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 20 years ago? Is it there were 2 single people who were owning 2 different lots and now there's like 2 families or 2 couples that are living there? Like, is that a different thing? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure who owned it previously or who occupied it previously, but I know the owners currently are a couple, so they have 2 cars, so that's one of the issues. And then a tenant obviously typically has at least 1 car.
Okay.
So, like most young people, they're buying homes to afford them and they need a multifamily to
Yeah.
do so. So that's why they also have maybe 1 more car than they previously had. But also in the past, when this did occur where there was more than 1 occupant per unit, you had that parking lot across the street where you could kind of get away with parking, quote unquote, illegally in a medical practice's parking lot and not worry about getting ticketed with parking on the road or violating, code by parking on your lawn. Whereas now that's no longer an option.
So really, the only legal option you have right now is to only have 2 cars for that 2-unit
Building.
home,
Yeah.
and that'll be it. You can't park on the street. That's it. So
Yeah.
they who own it are already maxing that out, so they don't have anything for their tenants.
Exactly. And to, secure a good tenant with no parking is very difficult.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have a question for the city attorney. Is it accurate that the city code requires 1 space per unit?
1.5.
1.5.
So this would require 3 spaces.
3 spaces, and albeit it sounds not like the preferred option, it sounds like there is space for that currently.
For a 3rd car,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were to drive by right now, you'll see that spot is not a permanent spot by any means. there's ruts and grass and maybe there is crushed stone as well. It's kind of dark now when I drove by, but,
Are you talking in the back?
yes, on the Gervais Street side. Yep. That's what Matt was speaking to, is that it appeared to be stone when he had walked by, which it very well may be, but it's a temporary solution to this problem that they're trying to solve. With a more permanent solution,
I wonder if that might not be the more ideal permanent solution.
I think they're open to that, wherever they can really get the spot is what they need. I think that does
Get to that.
take up more green space, in the back, which is probably why they didn't propose it, and the fact that there's already some impermeable space there on the First Street side, so it's not asking for quite as much, but that's for you guys to determine, I guess. Ultimately, they just need more parking. They would ideally love to have 4 spots, but understand that if they can only get 3.
At the end of the day, too, it is a restrictive size lot.
Understood.
That's. I think I have asked what I need to ask board members. Anything else? Okay. I think we're going to ask the public for if there's anybody.
Okay.
Is there anybody from the public who wants to speak to this? They were not. They were not. Or they were not contacted about this.
Yeah.
Maybe notified by ZPA, by the building leave it as a no.
And in comments,
Gotcha,
fine.
gotcha.
I just want to make sure they were.
Gotcha. Sorry, I misunderstood you. That's all right. Okay, I am inclined to deny the variance request. What is the process for that?
First of all, with respect to seeker, is a type 2, as it's the granting of an area variance for a single 2-family or 3-family residence, no seeker is required. And if you want to make a motion to deny, you can make the motion. It needs to be a unanimous vote for the motion to pass.
Did I just
For his motion to.
Correct, for any motion to pass. Today.
So what would be the basis of the denial, just so I understand, like, why are we denying?
Because it seems like this is not a necessity for the owner. It seems like there is theoretically another means to achieve their goal of adding parking on a permanent situation, and those two components right there.
So number 2, the granting of the variance, you're saying it could be achieved by some other method not requiring the variance.
Correct.
So that's factor number 2 that the board must consider. And you also think it could have an adverse impact on the character of the neighborhood.
Well, I am concerned about the neighbor, how it would impact the neighbor's situation.
The neighbor to the right of where they're currently proposing.
Correct.
All right. My question would be, in the event you would be more open to adding the additional spot in the rear, is that something we can discuss today, or do you need us to come back with that proposal?
You need to propose.
That would require a new application.
Okay.
And I think Phil would be the good person to just make sure everything's all lined up correctly on that one.
Okay.
So do I think
You need to make if you're making a motion to deny the variance and go through the 4 factors that are required for the variance. So your motion would be to deny the request and state why. I believe it's,
Which ones am I reading?
well, this is the one that you're hanging your hat on, right?
Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2. So that's what I would say.
I do hereby deny the variance request due to my belief that this accommodation for additional parking could be achieved through other means.
Yep, that's sufficient. Is there a second?
Do I have a second? Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Anton?
I'm going to be out in favor with the applicant on this one.
So the motion does not pass.
His application doesn't have.
His motion does not pass.
Right.
The denial does not pass.
I thought it was the other way around.
His motion to deny the
Oh, then I'll-
application does,
That's right, and I was misunderstood.
he's made a motion to deny the application.
I thought he needed a unanimous only to approve and not the other way around.
For whatever you vote, has to, 4 votes to pass the motion.
So if we don't vote unanimously, then it approves?
No, then someone would have to make a motion to approve, and I don't think you're gonna have 4. So it would have to come back next month with the other 2 members of the board being present.
So before we go to the vote for one moment, are you anticipating that you're going to come back with the application for the alternate side?
If that's what you guys prefer, yes. Because ultimately, this is
I
not,
will, okay.
it's a necessity for the,
Yeah, I
they can't
understand.
offer no
I get
parking
it.
for a tenant.
Then I will approve the denial. I will be on that.
So now the motion to deny the variance passed. So the applicant will have to come back with a new plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I had a similar thought, so I just to see how that was.
I didn't get the unanimous part of that part of it.
Okay, next on the agenda, area variance from old business. Area variance 24-0013 for Glens Falls Housing LLC, owner of tax map number 302.12-13-48, commonly referred to as 34 Baldwin Ave. The applicant is requesting relief from the required 35% maximum lot coverage and side yard setback of 7.5 feet and rear yard setback of 22.5 feet to construct a single-family residence pursuant to City Code Chapter 220, Section 13, GH-2A and 3. The applicant requires review and approval. State your name.
Reese Rudolph.
Reese, you were here last week. If you want to just summarize what your application is, and go from there.
So I'm proposing to build a single-family house on a non-conforming lot. Required to do that, I would need side setback relief and allowance for the buildable size to 43.5% or 43.4% proposed. I have received support from the neighbors that have sold me the property, and they also own each side of the property. And
I just got a question.
Yeah.
So, apology, you might have already addressed this last time. I think you're going to cover a bit more of the lot than normal. With everything, how do you propose like any sort of issues with drainage or stormwater or anything like that? Just have you sort of considered that?
so gutters and grading. Currently the lot is set down, so when we excavate to put a foundation in, we'll grade the lot to ensure that it's properly drained and have gutter systems and sloped.
Yes.
Yep.
But you're retaining the water or you're spilling it?
It would be spilling, or with gutter systems.
Where?
To the rear of the lot?
But on your own lot?
Correct, yes. So if I was to build on the lot with the setbacks that are there, I would be left with 20 feet width, and that's just not enough to build a home, a sizable home for a single family there. We did meet front setbacks, which I think is really important. If you go down the road, none of the homes meet that setback. So I think it'll appeal a little better. So we did try to design the home in a way that it's lengthwise and tried to stay narrow with the home. So it is designed in a way that could conform to the lot aesthetically.
Is the extra percentage lot coverage a result of the side yard increase?
Correct, yes. And the sidewalks and blacktop. We included that in the number.
Well, sidewalk won't be, it's on your property.
Oh, sorry, sidewalk going to the front door.
To the front door.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like a front drop, yeah.
It is a very dense street as is too, so I don't think it will change the character of that.
As stated, the neighbors own the properties next door to the building, each side of the property. And they were the one that sold me the lot, and they knew of the plans and design, and they're in support of it and look forward to the project. And we could build a two-family there. We're opting to do a single-family home there.
And I do see you included a letter of support from Brian and Mariah Mathis. Those are good.
Yes, the owner of the property is parallel and sold me the lot currently.
I mean, this seems pretty straightforward from my vantage point. Board members, do you have any questions, comments?
No. I think it's a positive addition. I think it's being sensitive to the surrounding area with the front back being continuous with how other people are in that area. And the adjustment is because of the limitation of the lot, really plus or minus, in which case you already have the approval from your neighbors. So I kind of think it's time to go there.
With respect to seeker, again, it's a type 2, as it's the granting of an area variance for a single 2-family or 3-family residence, therefore no seeker is required.
I think we checked out the boxes. Would a board member like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that motion.
So it's a motion to approve the 7.5 foot variance for the side yard, the 2.5
The lot coverage
foot
increase.
rear yard setback, and an 8.4% for the lot coverage. Would you,
2.5 or 22.5?
it's going from 25 to 22.0,
Yeah.
so it's,
It is 2.5. It's depends on how you want to.
right.
Okay, I want to check.
Do you want to read through your factors as to, one, will the granting of the variance produce an undesirable change? Go through your factors for the motion.
We'll have that listed for us. Where are the factors? Got it. So as per the granting the variance, I do not believe that it would create an undesirable change. In fact, I feel like the effort has been made to make it a desirable change. It's been vetted from the neighbors and approved. So I feel like that end there, and as you said, is a desirable effect rather than make it vacant lot. So I think that is yes. That would not make an unfavorable change. The neighbors, whether or not the same result could be achieved by some other method, and I would say no. I don't think it could be affected by some other method. Not realistically, yes, plus or minus a very small difference. But a home requires a little bit more, like you said, width than the lot really requires. 3, is the variance substantial? It is somewhat substantial, but the percentages are skewed in that it is a very limited lot. So the fact that the 7.5 feet is permissible and acceptable by the neighbors, I think, is what makes it more palatable and acceptable to me. And will the variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? And I think no, it will not.
Call for a second.
Call for a second. We have a second.
Dan?
All in favor? Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Moving on to new business. We will bring to order area variance 24-0014, Matthew Carlo, owner of tax map number 302.12.27-6, commonly known as 234 Ridge Street.
You're in charge of this racket. How are you? I'm Matthew DiCarlo. My wife, Katie DiCarlo, and our fearless leader, Eliana DiCarlo.
Is she your counsel?
Yes.
I defer to your counsel.
How are you?
Matt, how are you? So if you wouldn't mind just summarizing your application?
We're looking to, we've already gotten a variance for one side. Our house has 2 frontages, one on Ridge, and which would be the true frontage, and then the other one on Sanford. The Sanford had a variance last year, 2 years ago, when we moved in and bought the house. We were gonna put the fence right on the sidewalk, and we hit a foundation somewhere along there, so we ended up bringing it in just for sake of ease. And they kind of put the fence just quickly for our dogs to be as close, just close it in as quick as possible. But now we're revisiting it and trying to get our true boundaries. The one on Ridge is
also unique because the city actually owns like that little triangle on the corner, but the county maintains the bike path. So yes, it's like technically our frontage, but there's like that triangle that kind of like buffers that whole corner. Over time, we have been cutting stuff back to allow better visibility for the bike path because we walk it often, but if anyone's ever driven by, it's kind of just like this
Yeah.
very sad looking
No man's land.
no man's land that we're looking to landscape the exterior so it will like, you know, improve the aesthetic from the street corner and the bike path, but also it will allow us to utilize that kind of wasteland in our yard.
So if, referring to the photograph that you provided, how much of the vegetation are you looking to remove? Just for
All of it.
all, okay.
And then replant.
Yeah.
All of it on your side, basically, of the bike path?
And the Sanford side.
Wow.
Yes. Our neighbors don't really like it. We don't really like it.
It's kind of just a catch-all for trash, and it's none of it's actual, you know,
We pick
it's
up
green, but
uh,
it's great natural, you know, grapevines, weeds. National Grid hates it. They're willing to come and do as much as possible. They cut down 3 trees for us.
Yeah, they don't like vegetation.
Yeah, because there's a transformer right there as well. So.
What kind of fence are you looking for on the bike path side, and more importantly for me, the Sanford side?
it would be the 6-foot white vinyl fence that's already there.
You already have a fence there? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so we came here 2 years ago, and like Matthew was saying, we received the variance for the Sanford side. But when we hit that foundation, the building department couldn't give us an answer to move forward quickly. And I was 7 months pregnant at the time, and I was very over walking our Doberman and German Shepherd. So we just did what we could to get the fence in the ground the fastest. And then talking to the building department, they don't know if that variance expires. So they were like, if you're here, you might as well ask about it and just be re-granted it.
Re-grant the variance for the fence.
The Sanford.
The Sanford side. Ridge, we've never been here for, but since we were going to move the one side, we were like, we might as well talk about moving the Ridge side as well.
That was going to be a question I had for the city attorney. Do variances expire?
They can if they're not acted on within a certain period of time.
Do we know what that time period is?
It's 1 year.
Okay, so then the Sanford side would be expired.
But didn't you put something on?
We did. We just didn't go.
We followed the allowed setbacks for the fence.
So I would look at it, and I could be wrong, that you haven't finished what you started, but you started it. You got a variance, you started, something happened. Doesn't mean you can't keep doing what you got the variance for, in my mind.
Except are you saying you need to put it in a different spot?
That's different, right?
Well, it would be in the
Changing
same,
what you got a variance for before?
no, it would be the same approved variance for Sanford, but we've never been here for the Ridge Street side.
Right.
And that one, we would need the variance for to move forward.
Well, and I think what the code office was saying is to make it cleaner, to make sure you have a complete record. Since you're here, you could get a reapproval for the
Sanford side.
Sanford.
Yeah.
And we're talking about doing a 6-foot fence at all locations illustrated, whether that's the Sanford side or the Ridge side.
Correct, and then the portion that lines our driveway is actually just a black chain link fence, so it's, when you pull in the driveway, it's not like you're pulling
You
in.
mean in front of the driveway part?
Yeah, so it doesn't feel like a fortress when you're pulling in, but it does allow the privacy from the bike path on that corner, like the privacy fence would.
And I just want to confirm, just make sure I'm looking at this correctly. So you'll have the fence along the bike path, fence along Sanford, but you will not be putting a fence along Ridge.
No.
No, because the bike path is like if you see the vegetation that's kind of like in between the bike path and like what looks to be our yard, we own 15 feet into that vegetation. So we'd be looking to basically utilize because it's technically our frontage, so to have a 6-foot fence, we would have to be set back 15 feet. So we're looking to go up 14 feet, so that way we have a foot for landscaping in front of it. And also to give easement to like National Grid and stuff, because,
But there's no fence in front of your house.
no,
That's what I'm.
That's the question.
no.
I got you.
So it comes,
Right now it comes off like the corner at an angle and then catches it at that vegetation.
They're just looking at two fences, the green line along Sanford and the pink line. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised you wouldn't be going closer to the bike path if you could.
We have, there's 2 gas thingies that come out of the ground as well as 2 telephone poles. So we would basically go as close as we could with allowing them easement around their
That's
utilities.
smart.
and I see that it doesn't necessarily immediately impact your neighbors, but you did mention your neighbors.
Yeah, so they hate the vegetation that grows on Sanford and in front of the bike path. It's not very pretty anymore. It wasn't something we did. It was just there when we bought
Mulberry
it.
tree and a tree stump.
And like those weed trees that pop up. So like I said, we would take everything down, we would grind all the stumps out, and then we would properly landscape the barrier between our, or whatever you want to call that, area between our fence and the sidewalk.
Honestly, I was concerned about the visibility coming off Sanford to that intersection. That was my concern because I see people that get there. But you're gonna take all the vegetation, that's probably even more visible now.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a.
Well, if the city owns
And-
here, right, is that-
Yeah, there's probably 3 car lengths that fit between the actual like line for the stoplight and then where our property starts. So it is visible from the corner, but our fence is also shorter than the vegetation that's already there.
And if you're coming up, like, I get nervous to slow down a lot just to be safe when I get near the bike path, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
So, the stores. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, well, but I'm more concerned that people are here and then you're driving that way. And then but at the end of the day, you showed me a photo, and it's not like I've been there 100,000 times. I just don't remember exactly. But your fence is already there, and it's lower than the vegetation. So I think de facto eliminating the vegetation is going to make it more open, more visible.
Yeah, it sounds like it would aesthetically be an enhancement to the neighborhood. So I think it would be.
I mean, I would want privacy from the bike.
Did we receive any correspondence, or is there anybody online who has voiced any
Oh, geez, people are
objection to
watching.
this? Nothing to the city.
That's a lot of impact. A lot.
I mean, I personally don't have any other questions for you, board members.
No, I don't have any questions. So the whole decision, you're not asking to, like, some of the things that I would think about in this proposal, go more to changing whether it's green grass or greenery. It's still permeable, so that's not an issue. The only issue is about, in my mind, for safety, is about visibility, like, hey, putting new fences there. But it's more, in my mind, it's more visible than it is today. So for me, I feel like from a public perspective, it's fine. That aspect of like greenery and things like that, that's a personal preference of what you want, not something we rebuild. It's very odd frontage. To me, this would be side or not frontage.
You have to know the distance
I get it.
on Sanford between your fence and the sidewalk?
How much?
3 feet. Like if we got approved.
If, yeah, right
It's
now,
here.
I think
But I mean,
it's-
it's probably, yeah. Currently, right now, it's probably, well, 2 trash, right? We fit both of our
And
trash.
then there's the trees.
So probably 10 feet now, currently. But I think we'd like it to be 3.
Yeah.
About it. And the arborvitae, that's what they are, right? That are there now, they're kind of planted wrong, so if I was to trim them back to clear the whole sidewalk, it would be like the trunk of the tree. And then that buffer space would be the green spot.
Okay.
With respect to seeker, again, it's a type 2, as it's the granting of an area variance for a single or 2-family or 3-family residence. No seeker is required.
Now, does the, because it's the Mordecai Bike Path, does the county need to provide us with anything?
The county should have been notified under general municipal law, and I do not have anything indicating that they objected.
Do they need prior approval because they're next to that?
Right, we notify them of the application, and they normally send us something that says no county impact. I don't see that in the packet, so I don't know for certain.
Can we make an approval contingent
You
upon
could,
approval?
yeah, make a motion or an approval contingent
That's
upon
what I would do.
no county impact. If it,
Approval or whatever.
no county impact is pursuant to general municipal law.
That's what I would do.
To that end, when were you going to be doing all this work?
Good question.
The fence and the landscaping?
The landscaping would probably, you gotta talk to the, in the spring /
Spring/fall, certain plants do better planted at certain times of the year, so I'm actually in talks with Susan in LA, Saratoga, so she's helping me. And again, it's just whatever the plant schedule is best to be put in the ground is when we do it.
and then probably get rid of some of the things when they're dormant over the, coming months through the winter. Because it dies down pretty good, but if you were in there in August,
You'll be making an application for your fence permit. When are you going to do that? When you get this approval?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've already made your application.
We
Okay.
have not, because they didn't really have much information, again, on like the Sanford side, because we already had experience or not, but as soon as we get this, we will file and get to work.
Okay, so theoretically, it's possible we get
Like-
this season, but
Yeah, probably before next summer, and work in progress with the planting and stuff. But
okay.
And again, this is essentially a 2-fence application. That way you have it, you have a year to do it.
And there was a precedent with the,
Yeah, I remember the photo.
yeah, the Sanford one is going to be really, finding out what's in the ground there.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, the fence company thought it was a foundation of an old building when they were just
yeah,
being able to.
railroad used to go right, that
Ye-
bike path was.
Yeah, just being able to get into the which shouldn't be an issue, I guess, with them. But
I mean, it may make the installation more challenging,
yeah,
but.
it can be
it's not-
done.
Yes, it can be done. Just maybe, they may say, well, can we move a foot inboard to your lot? Because it's going to take us a whole lot less time than that. But you would have up to where we're giving you. So if it's like, well, foundation's here, can we go another foot that way? The answer is
No,
no.
no. Yeah.
Basically, because you have to, like you said, about the utilities and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
important. You don't want to put your fence in and then you have to get access and then they rip
No.
out your fence. That's not-
They already shot something through the fence this year when they were mowing. A piece of rubber, about yay big.
All right,
I would vote to approve it.
want to make a motion?
Yeah.
I would make a motion to approve it. Yes, please. I would make a motion to approve it based on
Read this part.
I would make a motion. I would like to make a motion to Glens Board of Appeals. I hereby grant the application variance for the project identified as area variance 24-0014 for their and located at 234 Ridge Street, pursuant to the following criteria and shown by the applicant that it was not an undesirable change. The benefit would not really be achieved by any other means, as those are the conditions that are being addressed. The variance is not very substantial, and any issues that I personally have as to public safety are being minimized, not aggrandized by this, as the situation's already been approved on the side that I was considering. The proposed variance will not have an adverse effect on the physical environment of the condition in the neighborhood. In fact, it will tighten it up and make it more visible for safety.
Subject to no county impact.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that something we wait to hear for, or you'll reach out? and-
We'll have the building and code office make sure the referral was sent to the county and that we have a response.
Okay, great.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Is that Dean?
And Sam. All in favor? Aye. Motion granted. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
thank you.
Looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
We'll have our planner out here. Legal counsel and a landscape.
That would be
Yeah.
This is a reference.
Because I did them years ago and
I had one.
it's okay.
On to our last order of new business. I'd like to bring to order area variance BP 24-0191, brought by 5 Sherman Ave LLC, owner of tax map number 302.20-15-16, commonly known as 5, 7, and 9 Sherman Ave. They're seeking a 13.8-foot rear yard variance from the required 25.8-foot maximum to align with the proposed building with the pre-existing building. Pursuant to City of Glens Falls Zoning Code, Chapter 220, Section 14J3, the applicant will require review and approval.
Good evening, I'm Don Sweetser, back again.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
5 Sherman, yes.
Do ladies and gentlemen have any questions for me regarding this?
If you could, I know we had a good discussion. Just very briefly summarize what your application is, what you're asking, and then.
We're asking for the rear yard variance of 13.8 feet to align a new building with the existing one. The new building will also be the same footprint as the building that burned down in 2014 vis-a-vis the rear yard. I think that sums it up, unless we have to go before the planning board after we're finished here, obviously. That was delayed because of the clerical error last week.
Correct. You got your variance last month for the
For the
height.
height, correct.
And just want the record to show that the variance essentially there was a large building there previously.
Correct.
You mentioned that it burned down.
That's the one in 2014, yes.
Yeah, in many, many decades, there were 2 buildings there, and so essentially we're just
Close
replacing.
to 80 years.
Correct, yeah. So I don't personally have any questions on this application from the board.
I have a couple. One is about the parking. Seems like you're way under the parking.
Parking is something that's going to be brought up at the planning board, yes. We're required to have 75 spots. The revised site plan provides for 55. Our experience throughout all the 4 properties we own, that 1 per unit is more than adequate. When we purchased our second property, Argent, they had approximately 25 parking spots. We doubled that by increasing the parking area. 453 Glens, 7 Chester, we quadrupled it. At 425 Glen, which is the old school, we were able to add 15 spots last year. So we're always stressing to get as many as we can fit in.
So let's go, if you wanna, it's okay, you're referencing your other properties, that's not, I'm not really necessary to do that, but I think if we're gonna talk about that for a second. If you're looking at a number of spots per number of units,
Mm-hmm.
how many units are you gonna have here?
50,
50, and you're gonna have 55 spots.
correct.
By the code, it goes to the.
Requires
1.5, which
75,
is 7.
yes.
What would your 425 Glen be for units?
425 Glen will have 108 when we're done, and we have.
108?
108.
Yep.
We're in the process of adding 10 right now. We have 163 spots, which meets the code.
So you have 163
Mhm.
for 108 units,
Yes.
and you're adding 10 more.
No. We have 98 right now. We're in the process of adding 10 more, which will bring us to 108.
And how many units are there? How many units are at 425?
Currently they're 98. When we're done with this process, there'll be 108
You're talking about parking spots or units?
units
Units, okay. And the number of parking spaces there are 163?
currently. The trouble is the city would like to take 3 away, so we're working on that.
So, I don't need to dot i's and cross t's at that level. So you have one that's pretty much relatively close to this geographically.
Yes.
Are your units in that comparable to units here, meaning are they 1 bedrooms versus 2 bedrooms?
There's a mix of studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms.
In the.
In 425 Glen.
And what about this?
This new building will only have 1 bedrooms and studios.
Okay. I'm sure that instead of having 2 bedrooms, you'll having 1 studios, that you will have a lower requirement for parking. But if you have 163 for about 100, 110, and here you're having 50 and you're only going to provide 55, I'm not following the logic where you wouldn't need more than that.
Well, Argent Place, for example, we have 41 units, so that means we need, 62 units?
So,
I think we have 51.
and no issues.
Pardon me?
And no issues.
None.
And similar type units, size units.
There are mostly 1 bedrooms or studios. There are 6 2 bedrooms. But all the 2 bedrooms, they all have 1 car.
Really?
Yeah. Our experience over the last 6.5 years is that 1 is more than adequate. We've never had an issue with someone not having a parking spot. And we only provide 1 in our lease.
Okay. What happens if husband and wife come in and they work? What do they do for their second car?
If they have 2 cars
Yeah.
and we have room, we will charge them a fee for the second parking spot, $25 a month. We provide parking passes for all of our properties individually. We have a towing service. If someone's illegally parked, we have them towed. My feeling, based on our last visit to the planning board, is they reached the same conclusion that 1 is more than enough. And we'll have 5 extra on this particular property, of which 13 will be undercover in the new garage.
I mean, the variance that you're going for,
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't see an issue based on historical precedence. That it's the same essential line that you're maintaining from the pre-existing building. So to me, historically, in that sense, similar massing, similar setback, I personally don't have an issue with that. It's more of a concern for parking from you. But honestly, if that's how you set up your lease, and it's like nobody wanted to accept that, then go somewhere else.
I mean, worst case scenario, at 425 Glen, which is 2 blocks away, 2.5 blocks at most, if we have 130 cars in that parking lot, I'd be surprised.
I think that when it comes to the matter of the parking, that's all going to be flushed out when you go see the planning board.
Exactly.
And while I do appreciate, bringing that to the conversation, you never know, it might come rear its head back here tonight. It's not necessarily germane to the request. So if we have any questions or comments about the request,
Well, I'm wondering why it's not in there, because it's one of our,
This planning board addresses parking in their site plan review. It's specifically in site plan.
Okay.
Just as a matter of course, these are some drawings that we've done which shows the garage below, side elevations that we prepared for the
Yeah,
planning
it's
board.
nice.
We talked about the height, and I wanted to show you that full mansard.
The mansard softer.
Pardon me?
Mansard definitely softens up the edge.
Yeah, and then of course the church steeple behind it, you're never gonna see that.
all right, given that there is not anybody in attendance from the public, is there anybody online? Nothing, anything from City Hall? Okay, that's
Well, with respect to seeker, as last month, this was an unlisted action because of the nature of the application. So again, we still have to do seeker again for this application, review part 2. It's an unlisted action. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No, or small impact. Again, this is for the rear yard setback only. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in increase for potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. With that, the zoning board could accept lead agency for the area variance. We've reviewed the part 2 unlisted action and could issue a negative declaration.
That being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve this variance
Can you do the
request.
seeker motion first?
Oh, yeah, I thought that
No,
was, sorry.
You have to, sorry.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Zoning Board of Appeals hereby accepts lead agency status for 5 Sherman Ave LLC, owner or agent of the property located at 579 Sherman Ave. The board has determined the action to be a unlisted action and has reviewed the short form environmental assessment form, and upon the documentation and discussion, issues a negative declaration.
Perfect.
All right. It's my first meeting.
You're doing well.
Is there a second?
This is my second meeting.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
So seeker passes. Also for the board, as you may recall, Warren County Planning Board has no concerns regarding the project and said there was no county impact. Now you need the motion for the rear yard setback variance.
I would like to make a motion. Can I get a second? We have a second. I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grant the application for an area variance for the project identified as 5 Sherman Ave LLC, located at 579 Sherman Ave, as presented at the meeting of October 21st, 2024, pursuant to the following criteria and shown by the applicant whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance? No. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other feasible method? No. Whether the area variance is substantial? No. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? No. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which may be considered but shall not preclude the granting of a variance? No. In addition, the approval may contain any other conditions or amendments as determined by the, appropriated by the board, which there were none. And
I need a second.
now I need a second, which was that time.
And
All in favor? Aye. Ayes round. Motion carries. The application is
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As there is nobody from the public to offer any further comments, I would like to make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? Got a second? Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Good night.